As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Alright, so Mafia 2, we've been playing this probably the last couple of weeks. Does it sound about right?
Sounds right, yep.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, I mean, I overall, the whole thing, I enjoyed it. You know, I did manage to get a free copy, so but I was planning on picking this up. I did buy a lot into the the trailers and the developer diaries and everything like that. So it was a game I was genuinely interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And actually reading on Wikipedia, apparently the PS3 version is the inferior version because one, it hasn't got 3D grass.
Oh,
And
no.
two, there's no pools of blood like that form after you kill somebody. So, yeah, apparently
Okay.
that's the inferior version. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of graphics-wise, that's probably a good way to kick things off. I thought the graphics were pretty good. You know, the city was nice. It wasn't too large, like a Liberty City or anything like that.
Mm.
I didn't find the road trips very long in between. But, you know, when you did wander around, it was nice.
Yeah, it was a well-contained, sort of nice-sized city, and there was a lot to see. There was the waterfront area, there was the inner city area, there was the suburban area, there was like the warehouses and factories.
Yeah, Chinatown and that.
Chinatown, yeah, and it all had like a distinct feel, and it was all very sort of it went meshed together really well.
And they used the actual cutscenes where the in-game engine, which I really like. I hate sort of switching between in-game and then going to a really nice, full motion video. I really hate that. So it did all work really well, and the graphics were really nice. So and then moving on to the gameplay, I think I thought it actually played really well. I didn't have any real issues with the driving, the shooting, getting around. The original control setup, I think it took me a little while to get used to. I know there was other control schemes, but I didn't bother just looking at it. Once I started with it, it just took me a little while to get used to it, but once I did, it was fine. What did you think of the controls?
I didn't have any problem with them. I just sort of I don't know whether that was because I spent so much time in the demo, so when I got the proper game, I just sort of fell back into it.
I found with the demo, though, the driving wasn't as good as the actual game. I felt the game had better driving mechanics. I just found it a little bit easier to drive in the game rather than the demo. So we should probably talk about the cops, because the cops were there's the thing, the cops sort of, they're not as I guess full on as they are in like a GTA game.
Yeah,
it's more but these guys will try and pull you over for speeding.
Or hit and run on another vehicle. Running
red lights and stuff like that. But they don't actually arrest you, they just give you a fine, or it's not until you actually do something really bad, like kill somebody or do something really fucked up, that they'll actually, try and either shoot at you to kill or arrest you, but other times they will fine you, and you can try and get out of, get out of arresting to do a bribe.
Yeah.
But other times, it's but the cool feature I thought they had was that you can actually press the PlayStation. It's the X button, and it'll put a speed limiter on.
Yeah, on the cars.
Yeah, so you don't actually exceed the speed limit, and I really like that, because that was the one thing, especially with missions that were probably a bit more time based, and obviously when you get to the end point, you have to lose the cops anyway.
Yeah.
So anytime a cop would show up on my radar, I just hit the X button, and I wouldn't affect me. So I thought that was a really good sort of feature to throw in there.
Yeah, I thought it was great, because you could also use it as a speed limiter if you were already in a cop car chase. You could use it to sort of you could wind through the sort of the cars on the road, and then once you get a clear shot, just turn it off, and then just go full ball at 120 miles per hour and lose them that way. It's really, I thought it was a really great game, like as far as like different ways of playing it and the gameplay.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to compare it with a GTA, but it's not really anything like a GTA game. I think.
Yeah.
Like I think I briefly mentioned last week, it's not a game where you're given you've got points around the city and you go and play the game however you want to play it. It's linear in that it's got a story to tell and it tells you where to go, what to do as soon as you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
There are some very high points in terms of missions, but there's also some low points as well. In particular, one where you're handing out cigarettes. At the start, it's like get me a red box, get me a white box, get me a blue box.
That one. Yeah.
My only complaint in terms of the gameplay would be the fighting. I wasn't a huge fan of the fighting. It basically goes into a one-on-one sort of almost Street Fighter Mortal Kombat mode, and I didn't really dig that much. I thought it was a bit. I don't know. I just didn't really like it. I think I'd like the controls. I didn't like. But I'd rather fight like any other sort of fighting game.
I think I liked it. Like I really like, especially once you maybe a spoiler here, but once you go to prison, and that's basically all you do. And I thought that was great. I was just like, going around fighting everything. I couldn't wait to get into another punch up.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed just the simplicity of it. You could just hold down the button to dodge, move around, and then take a jab whenever the other dude sort of retracts his arm. And if you time it right, you can come out completely unscathed and murder someone. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can sort of see why they do it. Like, it's probably less frustrating because you're actually locked onto just one person at a time.
Yeah.
But I think that also makes it a little bit more easier. And I think I found, I did die a few times during fights and that, but I think it would have been maybe a bit more of a challenge if I was fighting more people at once as well. Like, it was more of a, almost like a gang war type thing. You know what I mean? Like, so. But I mean, it's a very minor complaint. It's not that it doesn't work or that it's just bad controls or anything like that. It's just my preference of that whole one-on-one type thing. So, but yeah, I think the story we should get to is great. I think I wasn't a huge fan of the ending, and not that in that it was a bad ending like to a story. It's just I preferred it would have ended a different way.
Yeah, it kind of went out with a whimper instead of a bang.
Yeah, but I think it really was paced well, and I think the story was wrapped together excellent at the end. Like, especially, it sort of tied up every single loose end.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked that, especially things that happened at the start of the game. They sort of came, it all sort of came back to that.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think they took a lot of cues from Goodfellas and stuff and movies like that, and it really shows that they've put a lot of work into building the story and building the characters. Like when stuff happened to a particular character that I actually found myself caring about them.
Yeah,
like I'd become invested in the characters.
Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't like the ending. Is because of the effect it had on the characters that especially there was a few characters that obviously we'll just say not everyone makes it to the end, obviously. Because this is a mob game, as you would expect. But there were characters that you sort of do build up a relationship with, and they help you move up in the world type of thing. It's not. You do feel like a sort of a bit of a sense of loss, and especially if they're killed by somebody else.
Yeah.
Then obviously that gives you a bit of a revenge streak as well. So you're probably going to go in a bit more brutal. Kills. Yeah. So
the one thing I didn't sort of like, I would have liked a bit more. I suppose it would have probably ruined the story in a way, but I would have liked a bit more choice as to what family you joined. Like, because there were three family groups. I really didn't want to join the one that was default join.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It was very linear in terms of you didn't really get a lot of choice.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind that so much, only because I'm it's all about the story for me, sort of thing. but yeah, I mean, I can see because you like your customization sort of thing, and
I do
being able to choose what where you want to go and where you want to be at the end, and that.
Yeah, where my loyalties lie. I like to have some say over that.
Yeah, exactly, like Miranda and Jack from Mass Effect 2, for example.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So you can share a futon with them next time. So I mean, I can totally see it from that end as well. It's not a game where you have got a lot of say in what happens. It's sort of, this is how it is. So but yeah, I think overall though, I thought it was a very solid game. I'd probably give it a recommended. I think because the length of the game is short. It's not perfect in any respects, but if you're looking for just a good sort of just a good solid game, just to play. There's not a lot out at the moment. I think this is the game that it's a good filler in before some of the big releases the end of this year. You're not going to be disappointed with it by any means, I don't think.
No.
I think it's been made very well, and I think it's a lot of fun. So but I just don't think it's. I don't see it as a game of the year contender for me. What about yourself?
I don't know. It's definitely up there with my favourite games that have been released this year. I don't know if it's game of the year. Might get an honourable mention, but like you said, it's a solid game, really well made, really well crafted as well. Like there's no part of this game that feels like it was just a rushed sort of thing that they put in at the end.
I think there's not a lot you can fault it on. Yeah. Like there are obviously, as we talked about before, there's a few little things here and there, but overall as a game, it's not like there's no real sort of weak point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the fact that it's called Mafia, and that's what you get, and it's done solidly. So
what would you rate it?
I would give it I'm going to give it a recommended. It only just falls below the line of highly recommended, but definitely a recommended. If you have any sort of console, you should definitely play this game. Because, like you said, there's not a lot that's come out in the last few weeks or months, and this is certainly worth a look at.
My fate is